had very keen interest in Sanskrit and then it eventually developed into a keen interest in Ayurveda. How did that happen?
From the age of 2 to start to learn Sanskrit. And I couldn't tell, like my fascination for Sanskrit just grew so wild. I was so compelled to choose something where I could continue my engagement with Sanskrit, and that's why I bumped into Ayurveda.
How do the three doshas manifest into our products?
Three doshas is like the language of Ayurveda. Like how at school we learn about cells or the functional units of life.
Yeah.
The three doshas is the lens through which Ayurveda looks at everything.
Are they supposed to have Shilajit during summers?
It's an interesting question. Why wouldn't you have Shilajit during summer? Shilajit is harvested from mountains where you can only get it about 12,000 feet. Okay, if my Shilajit, the consistency of it is not changing during summer, then I should be worried. What have I bought? I have used BetterAlt Shilajit honey sticks. It's just simply amazing. It's ready to go. It's pre-prepared. It's precise. It's tasty. It's convenient, and then you have had your energy booster for the day, and so you can be rest assured you can have a great day.
Love the way you answered this.
Thank you.
Hello and welcome to the BetterAlt podcast. BetterAlt is all about marrying traditional Ayurveda with modern science. And today we have a very special guest with us who helped us do just that. We have Dr. Vijay Murthy in the house. Hello, Dr. Vijay.
Hello, Masima. Lovely to be here.
Lovely to meet you. And just for you guys to know, Dr. Murthy has been at the heart of our product formulations. He is the founder of Murthy Clinic, and he has also catered to the Royal British family in London. I'm so excited to have you here.
I'm equally excited to be talking to you and also to meet the whole team who have been doing this amazing project of manufacturing supplements, which combine Ayurveda with science.
Yeah. And I'll speak this for the rest of the team. All the weekly calls that we have with you, I'm sure everyone looks forward to it because all of those calls, the way you address very important topics with such beautiful analogies, I think that's really fun.
Thank you. That's very kind. I also look forward to Tuesdays when we have our meetings. It's the first thing for me in the morning in London. And of course, it's afternoon for you here in India. But it's a very engaging and productive day. So I always feel that when I have my meeting with BetterAlt, then that day is going to be great.
Yeah, it's the same for us. This brings me to the first question that I have for you. And I know that we spoke about it in brief a while back, but I think I would love for everyone else also to hear from you that you had a very keen interest in Sanskrit as a kid, right? And then it eventually developed into a keen interest in Ayurveda. How did that happen?
I was very fortunate that my parents, I grew up in a very traditional South Indian family. Yeah. They thought that it's important for their kids from the age of 2 to start to learn Sanskrit. And I couldn't tell, like my fascination for Sanskrit just grew so wild that I even ended up becoming part of the Sanskrit Theatre, National Sanskrit Theatre. And when it came to university, although in my family, they didn't want me to choose anything which is too traditional other than medicine or engineering, which was the common practice in our families then, that I was so compelled to choose something where I could continue my engagement with Sanskrit. And that's why I bumped into Ayurveda that way.
Wow, that's super interesting. So, Dr. Murthy, just a while back, we talked about how Ayurveda is traditional medicine and there are a lot of myths about Ayurveda and its relevance. So, do you also have patients or family members who come to you with their concerns about Ayurveda and how it could be like a myth or maybe how conservatives do not really believe in it?
You do get people who have a healthy skepticism about Ayurveda. And I think that's a good thing because, you just can't believe everything that's ancient. But the great thing about Ayurveda is it's not just revered because it's old. because it's very systematic. It has got very strong principles. It's very scientific and systematic in the way how it lays out its principles. And when you have an inquisitive mind, and of course the brilliance, then you can actually put that into practice, which can become a great trend for our modern wellness seekers. So, yes, I would say, yeah, there can be questions, but there are also very valid answers to those questions to debunk the myth that's been there about Ayurveda.
Love the way you answered this.
Thank you.
So, Dr. Murthy, talking about the systematic framework that Ayurveda presents, I would really like to know, and I'm sure a lot of our customers have also been asking us, and I think who would be a better person than you to give an answer to this? How do the three doshas manifest into our products?
Three doshas. Three doshas is like the language of Ayurveda. Like how at school we learn about cells or the functional units of life.
Yeah.
The three doshas is the lens through which Ayurveda looks at everything. And, it's not just an analogy. It actually has got very deep roots in how we understand nature. Because nature is made up of fire, water, and space.
The
These
five
are
elements.
the classic elements. These are not the elements that we learn in the periodic table. And when you start to observe nature, because as humans, we are part of nature, you can see these patterns. Some of us are very good at communication and creativity, which would be the nature of air or wind, which would be considered vata. And some are very analytical and very precise and very reactive, which is like the nature of fire. So, which is transformation and metabolism, that would be pitta. And some are very calm and stable and steady. We like to observe and then respond after having considered it. Like a little bit slow but sure. And that would be the nature of kapha, like the earth and water. So if we consider air, that would be largely vata, fire, which is pitta, and earth, which is largely kapha. How does it really enact itself when we are considering, let's say, a product like Shilajit? Shilajit, while is an adaptogen, which means that it helps one to adjust to all forms of stress whenever there is a physiological stress in our system. From an Ayurvedic perspective, Shilajit, because it produces energy, it creates this transformation. It is considered a fiery substance. So it increases pitta. So it's said in Ayurveda that if you take Shilajit, it's better to mix it with something which is more cooling, like milk. That's why there's the tradition of mixing Shilajit with milk, because if you're already a pitta individual, then giving something which is equally fiery can actually light you up so much that you can combust. I mean, you don't, but it's flammable. So that also talks about how much of fire and transformative pitta quality that's there in Shilajit. Whereas if you are considering somebody who is very steady, slow, more the kapha, watery, earthy qualities, then that Shilajit is fantastic because it brings that fire in them. So they become more active. Like, if you are somebody like, I really want to go to the gym, but I can't be bothered to get up in the morning, take Shilajit. Even if you are kapha and lethargic, you feel motivated. And if you are someone who's scattered, don't want to do just one thing well, but want to get distracted, which is what we have today, is the dopamine addiction. It's like we just get so bored if anything lasts for more than 2 seconds. There, Shilajit is fantastic because it helps with the neurotransmitters, calms you down, gives you that focus. So energy is not just physical, it's also mental, and it's neurological, it's metabolic. So Shilajit is a classic example of how you can actually have a little bit of that fire or flame that light up your life for a brighter day.
Oh, wow. So this means, and from what you said, I'm gathering that Shilajit is helpful for all the three doshas. So, for example, if I have a heavy dominance of kapha, Shilajit will help me. And will it help a person who has a heavy dominance of vata?
Yes, yeah. Just sorry to cut you off in that track, but not many substances in Ayurveda. See, Ayurveda has been developed over 5,000 years, or it's been mastered over 5,000 years, but has developed over 8,000 to 10,000 years. So, not every substance that Ayurveda has would be called a rasayana or a rejuvenative agent or an adaptogen, let's say. Only certain substances like Shilajit or Ashwagandha, they're called rasayana. What does that mean? It means that it's good for all the doshas. So it's good for Vata, Pitta, and Kapha because the very definition of a rasayana is something which nourishes all the tissues without causing any harm. And if it causes any harm or imbalance, then it won't be considered a good enough substance to be categorized as a rasayana or as an adaptogen. So Shilajit has that status of being a fantastic rasayana or a rejuvenative agent purely because it does not disturb Vata, Pitta, or Kapha, but it supports the balancing of all of it.
Oh, wow.
So anybody can take it.
From what you said, I gather that Shilajit is a good ingredient for someone who has, say, a heavy dominance of kapha, or maybe someone who has a heavy dominance of vata in them. So essentially, Shilajit is actually a great Ayurvedic herb for anyone with any of these three predominant doshas.
Yes, yeah, you're right.
That also kind of reminds me that there are a lot of brands right now, a lot of Ayurveda brands right now that are doing these dosha diagnosis tests on their website. So, considering everything that you just said, do you think those tests are accurate when someone just enters a website and then answers the questions on their personality or their traits or whatever their physical health concerns are or mental health concerns are, and then there is a result that is given to them? Do you think that is still accurate?
I think accuracy is a very loaded question because, as we all know, with anything, even in science, it depends on how good your questions are. So, if the question is not good, the response will also be not good. Rubbish in, rubbish out. However, if it is a very well designed question, which is based on the classic descriptions of Ayurveda, because Ayurveda describes one's personality as Vata, Pitta, and Kapha by taking into consideration their physiological functions like their digestion, their habits like eating, sleeping, activity, their preferences or their dislikes in their personal life or social life or in their profession. So Ayurveda has a very holistic, extensive description in a short questionnaire where people don't have much attention span to answer 9 questions and then to determine that, oh, I could be Vata, Pitta, Kapha can be a bit misleading. Right. However, if we do take into account all the questions that form the data that's necessary to analyze Vata, Pitta, Kapha through a questionnaire, it can be more or less accurate. Nothing is as accurate as, personally speaking to someone, seeing someone and getting it analyzed.
Yeah.
However, it's a beginning tool. It creates that curiosity. For example, many personality types that I myself, if there's a certain pattern, like, or you a warrior or a king or a servant or a minister, I would take that questionnaire just to kind of understand what patterns I fall into. So it's a great beginning. But when it comes to accuracy, much like anything, we need to look at both whether it is sensitive enough or whether it's specific enough. If sensitivity of a questionnaire is about 98%, then you are more likely to get more false positive answers. But if the specificity of your questionnaire is really good, then that you are less likely to get those false positive answers.
Right. I'm just digressing, but I've recently started watching Dr. House. I don't know if you've watched it. It's a great series, and Dr. House is this very unconventional doctor who does not believe in talking to his patients because he thinks that all of his patients lie at some point. So I think that just reminded me of the series, because he would get into the details, like the minutest of details, and then try to understand what exactly is.
No, that's a very interesting point, because I think even if we are not necessarily pathological liars, I think we all have a certain wish to be seen as something. This is what happens with this Vata Pitta Kapha question, and especially when there is a certain notion that Pitta is more desired because it's more intelligent and more analytical. Vata is less desired because it's a bit scattered and flaky. I mean, you can say that.
Like
And
the air.
and Kapha is also not desirable because it got those heavy qualities. When we have this stereotyping of doshas, then we also will feel pressurized to be the one which is considered to be the better one. So, in order to please someone else or to please ourselves, we might actually choose responses which are not truly reflective of our true nature. But I think what we need to understand is, in Ayurveda, there's no such thing as Pitta is fantastic, Kapha is slow, and Vata is too scattered. These are the ways how nature has created us so we can adapt best to our circumstances. So if I'm a Vata person, then if I actually play to the strengths of Vata, then that's the best way to adapt to my environment or to even my own needs.
So be true to your own dosha.
Yes, yeah. I mean, honesty is the best thing, because then you don't have to keep creating these lies in order to prove your point. So keeping it simple and honest gives you the best answer about your Vata Pitta Kapha.
Earlier, we were discussing about how Shilajit has a fiery element in it. A lot of our consumers also know about this through the videos that we have posted on TikTok and on Meta. So my question to you is, and I think this is a very valid question even when it comes from the customers, are they supposed to have Shilajit during summers?
It's an interesting question. Why wouldn't you have Shilajit during summer? It is an adaptogenic, antioxidant, rejuvenative substance, and we need that kind of support throughout the year. I think the myth of why Shilajit can't be had during summer, all of it is not really myth. It could be based in two things. One is that in Ayurveda, Shilajit is considered very fiery, which increases pitta. Obviously, during summer, which is the fieriest season of the year, where there's so much heat, there's so much pitta, that if you have something which also is fiery, maybe it's going to further aggravate pitta. Maybe in pitta individuals, it can be a little bit of an overkill during summer. But I don't think if you take it in the prescribed or recommended doses of just a dollop of it as a resin, then it is going to be a problem during summer. The other interesting legend about Shilajit is that Shilajit is harvested from mountains where you can only get it about 12,000 feet. So at such high altitude, and it's usually harvested by people who have followed this tradition in their families over generations. So they're often told, don't go and harvest Shilajit during summer, because during peak summer, poisonous snakes, they would come out of the rocks, and they probably would be in the vicinity of where Shilajit is. Obviously, in search of longevity, you don't want to be killed by a poisonous snake. So the harvesting of Shilajit is discouraged during summer, but I don't see any other strong reason why it should completely be put away during summer.
Right. And you also talked about some good combinations of mixers that you can have with Shilajit, right? Maybe you can have Shilajit resin, like just a dollop of Shilajit resin with milk or with water. Are there any other good combinations that you would recommend people to have, especially if they are trying to consume Shilajit during summers?
The three good mixes, as you say. In Ayurveda, these are called vehicles. A Sanskrit term for this is yoga vahi, the one which carries. So obviously, Shilajit is the most potent substance that we want for our tissues to regenerate, repair. But we need a carrier, a vehicle, and which activates Shilajit. So that way, as many of the listeners and users will know, that usually a little bit of Shilajit is added to water, preferably warm water, so it gets activated because it's the fulvic acid in Shilajit which makes it soluble in water and it activates it. So that's one combination which is great. The other traditional Ayurvedic way of it is by mixing it with milk. Basically, in water, you are activating the water soluble components. When you add it to a bit of milk, I would say add a bit of milk and water. So you are activating even the fat mixable components of Shilajit. And the other great way to take Shilajit, as many of you know, Shilajit has a disgusting taste, is to mix it with honey, because honey is another nature's great antioxidant. And so Shilajit. So two super combinations of Shilajit with honey to mask the taste of Shilajit and to enhance the benefit of Shilajit with honey would be another great way to take it.
Right, of course. From what I have read, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, honey contains a lot of antioxidants. And when these antioxidant properties of honey are combined with the fulvic acid and the antioxidants present in Shilajit, plus the 85 or so essential minerals, it can just act as a catalyst and boost the mineral conductivity of Shilajit.
Yeah, it's like icing on the cake. You just make already something which is very good even better. And that's the whole idea. So yeah, you're right. There's nothing that's antagonistic in the sense the ones which oppose the properties of honey with Shilajit, they augment or they enhance. So it's like listening to two master players, who play two instruments in perfect harmony. So it can be a great harmonious way of taking Shilajit.
Because we just touched upon the topic of summers, we have received a lot of feedback that our Shilajit, when it reaches the users, it turns out to be a little watery. Not watery, but a little more liquid than it is during winters. And we have been trying our best to inform the consumers that real Shilajit resin is temperature sensitive. While it will solidify during winters, it has a tendency to liquidify during summers as well. So, what is your view on it?
If a Shilajit that you bought during winter, which is more like globby and is solid, not completely solid, but dense, and then during summer it liquefies, I would be celebrating, thinking that I bought the best quality of Shilajit. Because Shilajit, it changes with temperature, pure quality Shilajit. But if it's an impure quality of Shilajit or an adulterant, it stays the same in all seasons. So if anything, it's a great reason to think that, okay, if my Shilajit, the consistency of it is not changing during summer, then I should be worried, what have I bought? So it's a good thing, actually, that it's a test for its purity.
Right. So, guys, please be rest assured that the Shilajit that you are buying from BetterAlt is pure, and Dr. Murthy has just helped us understand it better. So, thank you so much for that. A while back, we were speaking about how disgusting Shilajit tastes and how we can also add honey to it. We tried our best to bring that formulation into our Shilajit honey sticks. I'm sure you must have consumed them.
Yes, yeah, I have used BetterAlt Shilajit honey sticks. It's just simply amazing. For me, I actually like to also use it on my commute to my
Of course, they're
clinic.
so handy, right?
Yes, yeah, because you're in a hurry in the morning. You may sometimes, find it a bit of a chore, or, it is a bit of a task to be mixing it with water,
Of course,
stirring
yeah.
it, and
Plus the
then,
spills and
yeah,
the mess that the real resin creates.
yes,
So,
yeah, yeah. Also, it's so precious. You don't want to lose any of it. Sometimes it sticks to the bottom of the glass, and then you're putting more water trying to get it out and then to have it. If you have time, like on Saturday, Sundays, I do that. But on other days, just take one Shilajit honey stick, yeah, cut it open, suck it, and it's great. It's delicious. You have had your healthy dose, and it's
for sure.
convenient. So
Yeah.
I really like the Shilajit honey stick because it's so innovative and so convenient.
Also, so accurate, right? Um, a
Dose
dollop,
wise,
dose wise,
yes,
a dollop, if you say on a copper spoon, it's so subjective.
yes.
How much is a dollop? Is it this much or this much? But when it comes to having Shilajit honey, right off the sticks is so accurately uh, just placed inside the stick, and you just need to sip on the stick, and you're good to go.
Yeah, yeah. It's ready to go. It's pre-prepared. It's precise. It's tasty. It's convenient, and then you have had your energy booster for the day, and so you can be rest assured you can have a great day.
Absolutely. So, Dr. Murthy, I'm just curious to understand. Um, are you a TikTok user? Have you? I'm sure you're a very busy person, but do you find time yourself to just browse through TikTok?
To be very honest, the answer is no. Uh, I am not a user of TikTok. I would love to because there are so many. You do get these forwarded,
Of course.
very informative and also very funny
Yeah.
TikTok reels, and I'm always amused and also amazed by like how inspiring, entertaining, and very catchy these TikTok.
Yeah, super catchy.
Yeah, reels. Do you call them reels or?
Yeah, we call them reels, we call them trends. A lot of trends that go viral. Uh, just it's just coming to my mind. Very recently, there was this moon face trend on TikTok that went viral, and
Yes.
it was about having a cortisol face, or just because a lot of people on the trend were complaining that it's not my face, it's just because I have a very tiring and stressful job. So a lot of trends like these go viral, but I also feel that a lot of oversimplification of um, health concerns, like having too much cortisol or having too much stress in life, can maybe be very harmful for the culture of social media in general.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, it's been known for centuries that we need to keep things simple, but not too simple that it loses the meaning.
Yeah.
Obviously, in that sense, when we try to explain a very complex phenomena like stress, for instance, and the hormones which are linked to it, and its physical effect, like in the form of a bloated face or a roundish face, then just saying that, okay, it is because of a particular hormone which is elevated is oversimplification. In most instances, it's misinterpretation.
Of course.
So, yes, yeah, there must be a balance in how we actually use facts to make it accessible to somebody who is a layperson. Mm-hmm. So, in that sense, I would say, yes, trends are great. It creates awareness, it creates curiosity, but you also need to kind of look at how many different interpretations of that trend is there, particularly from people who are experts in that area.
Right. Of course.
So I think, listening to expert opinion or their perspective always is going to give you a better understanding of whether I can trust the source of information or not. Appraisal of information is equally important as being very much curious about consuming information.
Right. And of course, it has to do a lot with the kind of research we are doing, right? For example, if I just jump onto a trend just because it's cool, but I don't do my homework, I don't do my research, then it's only maybe going to be harmful for me because I'll only have half the information that I'm
Yeah,
supposed to
that's
have.
true. As we all know, the age-old adage that half knowledge is dangerous.
Yeah.
So, well cooked knowledge is what we need to be consuming than something which is not baked properly.
Right, for sure. Another trend that I had come across, and I see a lot of health and wellness brands also doing this, is the magnesium trend, where we see a lot of people claiming that the glycinate form of magnesium is the most bioavailable form. So, is it really?
The term most bioavailable is questionable.
Yeah.
Magnesium, of course, comes in different forms. We have magnesium glycinate, bisglycinate, there's magnesium citrate, there's magnesium threonate, there's magnesium oxide. So the combination with which amino acid or what form the magnesium is used for depends on what effect you're looking for.
Yeah.
Of course, magnesium glycinate is more bioavailable than some of the other forms. For example, even magnesium oxide is bioavailable, but then it causes possibly gut disturbance. So it's great if someone has a problem with regular bowel movements to have magnesium oxide, but magnesium glycinate, it doesn't have those gastrointestinal uh, symptoms that you can experience. Some experience, gut tolerance in some will be low, so they might have a laxative effect with magnesium, but with magnesium glycinate, that can be reduced to a large extent.
So it's good for the gut.
It is. It is good for all magnesium is good for gut, but magnesium glycinate is bioavailable. It reduces the gastrointestinal symptoms that are possible with other forms of magnesium, and it creates great relaxation. So it's good to aid one's sleep to make it more deep or more restful.
Right. Thank you, Dr. Murthy. That really answers my question. So, this brings us to the end of this podcast. And I'm so glad that we could have you here. And I, for sure, could gather so many insights from you. Thank you, truly.
Thank you as well for inviting me to share the wisdom and the science that's there behind many of the ingredients that are used in BetterAlt.
All right. Thanks, guys. Bye bye.